Here's one of the latest interviews from Rock and Metal Revival. If you want to hear the whole show, go to rmrshow.com. From the CD11, there's brand new Metal Church called No Tomorrow in Rock and Metal Revival. And, dude, I've been a fan of Metal Church since the first time I heard Let the Children Pray.
Oh, yeah, I remember that video back when MTV played music.
And the M stood for music.
Instead of moronic
Instead of morons. And we are very fortunate enough to have on the show, and it is an honor to have Kurdt-Vanderhoof on the show with us. Welcome to the show, Kurt.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This is great.
Hey, Kurt, it has been, like I said, a long ride with Metal Church down through the years, and it really is good to hear Mike Howe back leading the train, I should say. You guys are kicking ass with this new album.
Oh, thanks, man. It's great. I mean, we're thrilled, not only just to have him back and to be able to work together again, but have him back and singing as well as he is, which is, pretty lucky for us. Well, it couldn't be better.
Well, I mean, when you guys decided, when you went to find another vocalist, was Mike the first one on your list, or were you guys, was there questions on what you were going to do?
Well, yes and no. There was, when I had spoken to Mike about doing some vocals on a little side project I'm doing with Nigel from Saxon, and we were just kicking around vocalist ideas, and I hadn't spoken to Mike in a while. And I thought I'd see maybe if he'd be interested in just doing something on the side. Because I had no idea where he would be at with doing singing or music or whatever. And so I contacted him, and we caught up, and then I talked to him about this little project that I'm doing. And he was open to it, and we said we'd discuss more as things develop, et cetera, et cetera. Literally a week to the day after my first speaking to Mike about this, I found ourselves in need of a lead singer for Metal Church. And so I said, well, now how about not worrying about the project? How would you feel about coming back to Metal Church? And that started the whole thing rolling. He didn't come back right away. He wanted to make sure that, the songs were going to be good, the working situation was going to be good, and our business and all that kind of stuff was in order. He didn't want to come back and just come back to do it. He wanted to make sure that it was good. So we just took it step by step, so...
Well, late last year, we had Jeff on the show with us. Jeff played on the show with us, and he told us about when No Tomorrow was coming out, about you guys were going to have this great video. How did you guys get inside a nuclear reactor?
Yeah, really?
Well, it's yeah, I know, right? But it's very close to where I live. It's what's called a mothballed nuclear reactor. They started building it back in the 70s, and they never finished it, so they never activated.
Oh.
And it's just been sitting there. And I, you go up there, you can drive up there, and they're trying to turn it into like a business park and stuff, for something to do, just to turn it into something. And I just was like, I can't believe nobody's used this to shoot a video. So it just made perfect sense to go up there and do that, because it's a very unique location, and it's really weird up there by this place, because it's like going into a scene from like the old Planet of the Apes kind of movie or something. It's really bizarre, but they have it. It's just sitting there, and and they try to make money with it any way they can, but it was never activated, and they never finished it. So that's why they have those big empty cooling towers and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a trip.
Nice. Well, I'm a guitar player, and I love the way you play guitar. I love the way you write. You got great riffs.
Oh, thank you.
Great riffs and stuff. What do you look for when you pick up a new guitar?
On a new guitar?
If you go to a guitar shop, what are you looking for?
Well, that's really hard to say. I like old guitars that are all beat up and used and have a lot of soul. New guitars, but there's a lot of new guitars that are being made now, and technology has gotten so good that it's really, really hard to find a bad one. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the things, necks and things like that, everything can be adjusted. For me, it's a feel thing, and I think that goes for most people. If it just kind of feels right, if it's balanced right, those are the kind of things that, you can't, it's kind of that undefinable thing when you hold it and you strum it, even if it's not plugged in. If it suddenly just kind of feels the way you think it should, if it feels very familiar very quickly, that's kind of what I look for.
Yeah, because that was a nice Les Paul you had in the video there.
Oh, yeah, that's my 68. I've had that forever.
Yeah, sweet.
Hey, I read online the other day, Kurt, that you've got a friend of the show, Chris Caffrey, out on tour with you. I mean, how'd you line that up?
Well, we've known Chris for an awfully long time, and he obviously is in Trans-Siberian Orchestra with Jeff, and Rick is not able to fly yet. Rick is healing very well from the surgery, but he's not able to fly yet because of the pressure and things. So and Paul Clef came in and totally saved our butts, on the first 4 shows on the cruise, and Chris has just been a friend, and he was on the cruise, and he said, hey, if you need somebody to fill in some more, I'd be happy to do it. It was like, well, that makes absolutely perfect sense, because we're starting off back east. Our drummer lives in New York. Chris lives in New York. He's a great friend. Sounds like fun. Perfect. It just made sense. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to it. It'll be great. It's going to be great.
So how was that cruise? Because, there was a lot of metal on that ship.
Yeah, it was a lot of metal and hard rock, which was great. We were kind of like the heaviest band out of all that stuff. But, boy, I'll tell you, man, there was some great stuff. Winger actually blew my mind. They were so good. I couldn't believe it.
Did they have...
there was just so many good acts.
Was Reb with them?
Yeah, yeah, nice. That's why it blew my mind. Reb is a monster.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we also see that you're talking about how the tour starts out east. You're going to be heading through the Midwest our way real soon. People who are going out to see a Metal Church show for the first time, are you going to be digging back deep in the catalog when you come out on the tour?
We are going to go back and do a few things off the David Wayne era, but now that Mike's back in the band, we decided to concentrate mostly on the Mike Howe era material and the new album. We have been for years and years doing mostly the David Wayne era stuff. So now that Mike's back, it's going to give us an opportunity as a band to play some different material for us. So we're going to dig mostly into that in the new album. Yeah, we're going to do a few things off the first couple of records, but mostly it's Mike Howe era stuff and the new record.
Cool. Well, I loved on Watch the Children Pray when you with that eerie slide guitar and stuff. Do you find that the talk box isn't used enough in metal music today?
I don't know if it's used at all, but I actually have one of those. I love them. I think they're great. It got a really bad stigma because of Peter Frampton, and that's really unfortunate. But Peter Frampton is one of the most underrated guitar players ever. He is absolutely fantastic, and his work with the talk box was great. But the whole teen idol thing and everything that happened in the '70s kind of,
ruined it for him.
Gave it ruined it. Yeah, his major success ruined it.
Yeah, the biggest live album ever ruined his career.
God damn it!
I know, right? Well, yeah, following that up ruined. I'm in you. Oh,
yeah,
big mistake.
Yeah. Really.
Anyway, but yeah, actually, I like them. I think they're great. I don't think they're used enough at all. I think that's something that heavy metal should do more of now that, the musicians and stuff are not dealing with major labels as much, and the music has changed enough. I think heavy metal bands should start branching out and trying some new things a little bit. Not changing the genre, but, experimenting a little bit. So, yeah, I would love to hear more stuff like that happen.
Kurt,
it'd be great.
Maybe only cuss words.
Say what?
Maybe use it only for cuss words.
Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of have it so you don't get a sticker.
Yeah. Hey, Kurt, now, Metal Church has went through a lot of changes in metal, like you said, through the genre. From when you guys first started out back in the day to now, is the biggest change in metal being the internet and the way people get music?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's absolutely the one great thing about it is that it's taken away that major label filter that we always had to go through, chasing that, we need to get signed type of mentality. Mm-hmm. So, and it took, to be perfectly honest, it took me a long time to embrace the new industry. I thought it was done. After, the grunge thing died, which was like the last cool, galvanizing kind of movement that happened in rock, and then after that, it was just that dead 90s alternative stuff where I just thought it was done. And then here comes the internet and Napster. I'm like, boy, okay, it's over. I better start, learning to say, do you want fries with that? Because I thought it was over.
Really?
And, it was really bad, because, the Alice in Chains and Soundgardens and all that kind of stuff was great. It was powerful. It was kind of, the change from the 80s glam thing. It was exactly what needed to happen, et cetera, et cetera. And then it just went dead. And then the internet comes in, and suddenly everything's, I thought it was done. But now that I've had to embrace the new music industry, it's turned out, and I stand here completely admittedly, it's better now than it ever has been in a lot of ways. The downside is the piracy.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is that the major label filter is gone. It's direct artist to fans now, and it's all do it yourself, which is the way it was in the late 60s and early 70s when rock was at its best.
That's
so
true.
It's kind of back to that, and I think the bands and the artists should take advantage of that and really start expanding and really start pushing, and really get creative and really push and take advantage of the fact that we don't have anybody saying, we need a single, we need a hit, we got to, guys got to look like this, and wait a minute, you're too old, so get plastic surgery, and all the things that came along with a corporate type of approach to the art form. So that's gone. The internet, as long as people pay for their downloads, that's great. It's a wonderful way to do music now. And I'm just really, really very fortunate and feel very blessed that I get to still have a career after all these years, and to do this legitimately in this capacity is, it's an amazing feeling, and I feel very lucky. Very, very lucky. Life is good.
Excellent. 10 years ago when Jerry and I started this show, we did it because bands like Metal Church and other bands weren't heard on the radio, and you guys were putting out new music and nobody was hearing it, and we really got sick with what terrestrial radio and the evil empire was doing to metal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And
metal suddenly became poison, and it's like, that's not metal.
No.
Yeah,
that's
really.
not, I mean, nothing against them, but that's not metal. That's not metal. That's hard rock. That's rock and roll. And then there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not metal.
Yeah.
And so, I agree. And thank you for doing that. That's great.
Exactly. And, and you guys now with great labels like Rat Pack, I mean, those bundles and stuff that you got going, as far as like Jerry and I being fans, that's a great way for us to buy music.
Hell yeah. Signed CDs.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the Rat Pack records. You are awesome. I mean, the situation that we have now, which is one of the reasons Mike, coming back to the band with the circumstances of how we do business now, is perfect. This situation, Rat Pack is awesome. They work their ass off. They know what they're doing, and they're great people. I make the records. When it's done, I send it to them, and they put it out, and then they do their thing. And if there's a problem, it's one phone call. Vice versa. It's just so simple now and so easy to work with, and and just working with really good people, it just makes it so much easier to work and so much more fun. We have complete control over what we do. Mike and I we're making the demos and writing the songs. We don't have to worry about it coming out differently because we don't have producers and managers and engineers and 5 label people and A&R people, throwing their 2 cents in. And so by the time the record comes out, we're listening to it going, the demos for these were better, and this kind of thing. None of that stuff happens anymore. So our working situation with Rat Pack is ideal. Hence the fact that I'm, feeling so great about, my career now. Who'd have thunk that at this age I'd be feeling like it's 1983 again?
Yeah, very cool. Well, hey, Kurt, where would be the best? Well, besides going to Rat Pack Records and buying the record, and go out and buy the record, because from what Jerry and I have heard, it kills.
Yeah.
Where can people keep up with Metal Church and you in particular?
Well, just the good old social media, of course. Obviously Facebook, Metal Church Official, my Facebook pages, and all that kind of stuff. But you get the record on Amazon, you can get it at ratpack.com, and that's where you do all the pre-orders for all the fancy fun bundles and all that kind of stuff. And so it's pretty much it's available everywhere. I mean, you can do everything, but if you want all the fancy bundles and all the extra T-shirts, the Mike Howe for President T-shirts and all that kind of stuff.
I'd vote for him.
Go to ratpack.com.
Nice. So we haven't had a chance to hear the whole album. I was wondering if there's any tracks on the new album that are going to feature cowbell.
Not yet. I think we had to leave it out.
Oh, shit.
No,
shit.
Definitely. But I was just listening to Blue Oyster Cult yesterday, so.
And one more question before we let you go, Kurt. You mentioned when we were off the air about a wild show you did in Madison, Wisconsin. which is just up the road from us. You want to tell us about that?
Well, I mean, it wasn't much to tell, but I think it was like 1985, and, Madison being the big college town that it was, and it was right at the height of metal taking its, doing its thing, and, oh boy, was that a crazy night. That was awesome. It was great.
All right. Well,
I mean, nothing special other than just a really good energy, and everybody was losing their mind. And
nice.
I don't think anybody died, so that's even better.
And that's the way it should be. And
exactly.
And we're going to get out of here with another tune off the new album. This one's called Killing Your Time. You want to tell us about this one, Kurt?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, instead of people wasting their time, some people are just killing your time. They're just killing it. And that's kind of, as getting older and you kind of start seeing a lot of people that you've known over the years who just, they just wasted their time, man. Now they're not wasted, now they're killing it. So it was just kind of, a kind of slight comment on, don't waste your time, man. Don't waste it. We can do it once, go make the best of it.
Very cool. Well, not to make a bad pun, turn this one up to 11. It's brand new music from Metal Church and Kurdt-Vanderhoof. You are welcome on this show anytime.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Love to come back.
To catch the whole show of Rock and Metal Revival, all you have to do is check it out on these affiliates. Megarock Radios on Saturdays from 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and on Uncontrolled Noize Tuesdays at 1 a.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on UncontrolledNoise.com. And make sure that you leave them a message and tell them that you found Rock and Metal Revival on their stations. Enjoy this edition of Rock and Metal Revival.